If you want to see how I created this gorgeously stunning, clean makeup look, then stay tuned. So of course, firstly, I am starting by moisturizing my face, and you can use any moisturizer of your choice based on your skin type. So I would have used the Pond's cream, and that is universal for me. It works for my skin type. Next, I'm starting off with my eyebrows, and these are the two products that I'm using to carve out my eyebrows. And I am not actually filling in my brows first, but I'm going to carve them out to get that shape that I would like to fill in my brows with. And it's a really very simple process. I am using the lighter shade of foundation in the brand Maybelline Superstay, and I'm just going to clean up underneath my eyebrow, and this is going to be my carving shape for when it's time to fill in my brows. So once you have done that, you can pull down the rest of the product down onto your eyelid and ensure that you blend it out before moving further into that process. And once you are satisfied with the shape of the brow that you would have carved out, you can then repeat that same step on the next eyebrow. You can use concealer for this process if you like, but I prefer using foundation for a much more natural, softer finish. Next, I'm just combing my eyebrow hairs into place before I begin to fill them in. And I'm using a Ruby Kisses eyebrow pencil to fill in my brows in the shade brown. And I usually just fill in the outer end or the tail of my brows and just sort of brush the product into the rest of my eyebrow for that much more softer, natural finish. I like the tail of my brow to be really defined. Next, I'm just going to apply some of that foundation onto my lid, and at this point you can use your shade of foundation or one shade lighter if you'd like to put on the lid and blend it out. This is a natural makeup look, so I am not going to be doing any sort of eyeshadow whatsoever. Next, I am going to be covering up those bags that you all are seeing, or those dark circles that you all are seeing under the eye, and I did use the lighter shade of foundation and in turn put in just a little bit of my shade of foundation right underneath that, so that it blends seamless onto the rest of the skin and it doesn't look patchy, I should say. At this point, I am taking a small concealer blending brush to buff out underneath my eyes. And next, I will use a foundation brush just to ensure that it is well blended on the balance of my face. This foundation brush is from Tarte, and it's actually one of my favorite foundation brushes. Look at how buttery that foundation went onto the skin. And I am going to work in small portions, so I do one side of my face before moving on to the other side of my face. Therefore, I use very minimal product. This was actually one pump of foundation that I would have used, and I am going to try to see how far it gets me. One pump of foundation did do the two sides of my face, because actually I didn't have any marks or anything on my face, so it wasn't very difficult to build onto the rest of my skin. And then I would like to work in the nose area and work my way up to the eyebrow area. And I'm using again my shade of foundation to carve out the top area of my eyebrows. This gives your makeup look a seamless and flawless finish without looking like your eyebrows have been boxed out or totally out of frame of your face. It's gonna be well blended and well put together with the rest of the makeup look. And Again, once you have done your part in terms of making sure that you have the eye shape or the eyebrow shape that you want, you can complete the same steps on the next side of your face, on the other half of your brows. And you're going to blend all the way up that excess product onto the forehead and simply blend. Now notice my blending skills are more of a stippling motion rather than a drag of the product across the face. Dragging the product across the face is just going to give you streaks on your face. I'm going back in under my eyes for a more full coverage look, and also to really highlight and brighten my face. So I am using that lighter shade of foundation, and I'm gonna allow this to sit just for like a minute to ensure that it gets a bit tacky, and then go back in to blend it out. And this is my secret to ensuring that my foundation is much more on the full coverage side rather than the runny wetty side. And you just want to blend that out onto the rest of your face using your concealer blending brush as well as your foundation brush. You're not adding any additional product. You are simply using whatever product that is left on your foundation brush to help blend out that lighter shade of foundation onto the balance of the face. And I'm using to set my Sasha Buttercup powder, setting powder, in the lighter shade, and this is actually my go-to. It helps brighten those areas that we would have applied the lighter shade of foundation. And again, I usually use foundation to highlight my face. However, you can feel free to use concealer. For bronzing, I am using my Sasha Pro Powder foundation. It is a powder foundation, so it is full coverage, or you can actually build on it to allow it to become full coverage. And I'm using this around the perimeters of my face to bring back color and definition to the balance of my face. Don't forget your chin area as well as the sides of your nose. This is gonna really sculpt out your nose. If you prefer a more thin looking nose bridge or just an average size, that would determine how much you actually put bronzer, or how much bronzer you actually put. And I'm also using this, not actually the same shade, a darker shade, but I am using one shade lighter than my bronzing shade for the rest of my foundation or my face complexion, and that is going to be my face powder. Next, I'm just simply doing a simple wing liner to apply my lashes. I always like to do a small liner on the top of my eyes so that the lash band, once you put on those falsies, it looks natural on the face and it doesn't look out of pocket, especially if you don't have on individual lashes. So I'm really doing a simple wing liner, nothing too extravagant. Blush is definitely a must-have. To me, it just softens up your makeup look and allows you to embrace much more of that feminine side of you. Next, we're just going to simply dust away any excess setting powder that we had sitting on our face. And my lashes, this is the simple technique that I use to apply my lashes. I actually sort of place the mirror to face downwards and I look up at the mirror and put on my lashes, and it's really that simple. So I'm just dusting off the excess powder from underneath my eyes as well as the rest of my face. and you can see that we are already looking so flawless. Don't forget to blend out your natural eyelashes with those falsies that we would have put on, whether you have on a strip or not. Don't forget mascara, it brings the look together. You can apply your mascara to the top and the bottom of your lashes, however you choose. And I'm just doing a simple glossy lip, but of course with any of my lip combos I always use a brown lip liner to outline the shape of my lips. To me, this allows the lip shape to show up much more in the makeup look, and it just completes the look altogether. You can actually go how dark or how light you want on the lip liner, but I always suggest using a lip liner and then filling accordingly. And next I'm just using a basic beauty supply lip gloss. It's one of my favorite lip glosses that I paid just about $5 for at Pennywise, and it is a staple when I'm doing a simple natural makeup look. To complete this look, I'm just going to spray some rose water all over my face. Again, this is my natural everyday makeup, so I'm not using any additional setting spray. If you feel to go foolproof because you are going outdoors or in a hot environment, you can feel free to use a different setting spray. However, I usually do this makeup look when I'm creating content or have to film content, or if I'm simply running out to do errands and I have my children with me. This is one of my fast go-to makeup looks. So I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.